Right. Rajesh, it's a huge welcome to the Sales Transformation podcast series. Thank you so much for enjoying us. Just for the benefit of the listener, this is a Mastercast series. So this is where we interview students who've been through the master's program to talk through their final projects. So, Rajesh, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thank you so much. I was so looking forward to having this chat with you. And thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure and an honor to speak to
Uh,
you not about sales on this podcast.
honestly, it's our honor to have you here, Rajesh. I'm looking forward to the podcast because I think the topic that we have for your final project is really interesting. But before we get started, Rajesh, do you mind just sharing with the listener a little bit about who you are and what your current role is, and how you also, if you don't mind, just saying sort of what made you decide to embark on the master's program in the first instance?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Would love to. So I manage the territory and channel sales for Adobe in Southeast Asia. I'm based here in Singapore and been in this role for the last 7 years now. Uh, I haven't been into sales since the beginning of my career, which started way back. I've been 20 years with Adobe though, and I have managed the solution consulting team. We used to call it the pre-sales, and there was sales in it, and absolutely convincing the customer about uh, why our technology is better and what would solve their their challenges, and that is where it all started. uh, Moving to Singapore gave me a bit of an idea of what markets are outside of India. So I managed the solution consulting team, hired and managed the solution consulting team in India for 10 years, and then moved into Singapore with an opportunity to become a solution consultant once again in 2014. Uh, as you do know, you've lived in Singapore, so you know it's a very expensive place. And looking at what I was doing with solution consulting, I decided that I needed to make more money. And that is the reason moved from a pre-sales kind of a situation into sales. And I put my hand up for a territory role, and thankfully it was available. And my managing director then was pretty open and said, "Oh, why not? Give it a shot." So that's where my sales role began. I did
Right.
reasonably, I would say, and was offered in 3 years' time. Was offered to manage the sales team. Since I have managed teams before, it was I didn't blink an eye. I said yes and moved into this particular role. Now, coming to this particular master's program, I a few years ago we had Simon Dale join us as our uh, uh, managing director for Southeast Asia. And Simon's ideas and thoughts about people management, about the business, about how he thought of um, the overall business, the small projects that he created. And those things were really eye opening for me as a leader. And I simply loved the way he managed things. So, and he did bring up a few times that he has done this sales transformation masters, and which was really something that we ended up speaking a few times. He shared how his interest was spiked with coaching and how he enjoyed it. And I had the privilege of being coached by him uh, on specific areas like managing difficult employees and stuff like that, which was wonderful. And that was something that inspired me quite a bit. Uh, so when this opportunity came up, and he said, "Oh, if you're interested, would you like to embark on this journey, which is 2.5 years? It's an investment of your time, but then you would learn a lot as well." And I honestly, there was only one day that I took to think about it, because I went back home and just had a chat with my wife to understand if she was keen to support me as well, because it was investment in time. But yeah, and I just said yes, and that's how that weekend we got talking. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it all happened very quickly, and I think you joined a fabulous cohort with people from, well, those, from USA, from the UK, and here you are now having graduated, and to talk about your final project. And I'm just going to read out the title of your
Yes.
project, if you don't mind, for the listeners. So Rajesh's title is "How Does My Mindfulness, Awareness, and Spiritual Practice Influence My Leadership Style and the Overall Performance of My Sales Team?" And to my knowledge, this project is quite unique, given the title uh, and also the way your research took you, was not, if you like, the sort of traditional approach necessarily that we've seen with other students. I mean, your research methodology is traditional, but the topics, the books, the things you looked at were different. So, Rajesh, can you talk us through what was your concern that led to this title, and sort of why was it, not just the what, but the why was it a concern for you to address this particular question?
So Phil, it is a unique topic, I understand, but I was not. It is surprisingly not that unique as well. When I started going through papers, and I started looking at formal research, there were a lot many people who had thought and done a research around what happens if at all you meditate, or what happens to your leadership style when you are a spiritual person, or you're a person who's taking the human angle into consideration. I have always uh, felt that I am a people manager first. Processes do appeal to me, but one has to understand that the processes are completed by those people, and uh, my people's motivation, my team's development, their overall commitment, and their well-being are of a prime importance to me. So if you speak to any of my teammates, those probably are a couple of things that they would come up with. Uh, this was from a people perspective. The other side was from a leadership side. I have always believed that one needs to be motivated themselves. I cannot be in a command and control situation. I have
Right.
seen managers do that, and I have felt uncomfortable myself, and I've thought that that is something that I would never do with my team. So that is the reason I I have started probably 15 odd years ago. I started
Yeah.
on this journey of meditation. I started to understand myself, to become a bit more self-aware. Uh, and it's not that easy. Obviously, it is lovely to say that, oh, meditation, and I've been doing it for 15 years. I still sit on my uh, pillow today and feel like it's the first time I'm doing it. But that's probably precisely the reason it is called a practice as well. So don't reach anywhere. But then what I've understood over the years is it has given me a lot more peace and calm when I listen to people, when I speak with people. I'm a very ferocious orator. I love getting into speaking all the time, and coming from Mumbai, making trying to make a mark in a crowded place, uh, making myself heard. Uh, I had to be loud and proud about things. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done what I have done. And that is what I understood when I started doing my research. That the way I am, what has shaped me, is the particular thing that coming from.
Yeah, from your past. So, do you mind just telling us a bit about your past then?
Sure. Uh, I I come from Mumbai. I have lived most of my life in suburbs of Mumbai, in Ambernath and Thane, which is much further away than what people would know of as Mumbai. And traveling to college used to take 2 hours for me to go. So my school was in Ambernath, my college was in Mumbai, and traveling one side would take me 2 hours to reach my college. I was doing my diploma in printing technology. That is what I did, and I was happy about learning about cameras, happy to learn about the processing of film, and understanding what the entire printing process looked like. So that is what my college was. But again, that is what it is, that if I'm catching the 7:47 train, only then I would reach for my 9:45 lecture in time. And it is 7:47. It is not 7:48. It is not 7:50. It is 7:47. So you got since young days you are trying to be by the minute. You're there trying to get the train, because if you miss one, the second one is going to be like 10, 15 minutes later, and it might not even be a fast train. It might be a slow train, and those kind of things. So walking fast, being quick, getting inside the train before the train stops, trying to find a seat as quickly as possible, and then going through the journey safely for that 1 hour 45 minutes, and then the 10 minutes walk to the college was important. And I'm sharing this very precisely with you because when I started on this project, I was looking back and saying, why do I, even in Singapore today, where I don't need to catch a train, there is a train every 3 minutes. Yeah, I don't need to see what time the train is, but I still walk with the same speed. My colleagues still look at me and say, "Oh, Rajesh must be at the immigration already. You don't need to bother. We'll just catch him at the dinner later." So that's
Right.
how fast I walk, and that is how my wife and son look at me as well. That he's always doing these things. So that's the past. That is where I started. Got into printing technology. Worked with really good publishing houses like Magna Publishing, which did 90% of publishing of Indian magazines. I've worked
Right.
with Grey Worldwide, the advertising agency before that. And and when I was working through these agencies and these publishing houses is where I came across Adobe, and I said, "Wow, this is a software that I love, and maybe it would be a dream to get a job in Adobe." And that's how I applied, and that was 2004 when I got into Adobe. That seems like a long time ago now.
So you're picturing, you've got a picture that's being formed of someone that is moving very fast, very quick, sort of, I don't know whether this is the right word, sort of rushing from one thing to another, but moving really fast, very intense. And so you've chosen the topic, which is about, looking at mindfulness and meditation. Obviously, there was something that you felt that you wanted to address as a means of developing your personal practice. And I think that quite a lot of that was also influenced by um, the some of your beliefs, perhaps built from sort of around religious beliefs as well, and attitudes that could have been influenced by your parents or your upbringing. So I wonder if you could share a little bit about that context of your life as well, because I think you draw upon that quite a lot in your final project.
Absolutely, absolutely, Phil. So I think coming from being this fast and this quick and this hasty, I would say, uh, most of the time, I've always felt that I am not a very good listener, and
Okay.
this is something that probably drew me towards meditation. My friend who introduced me to meditation gave me Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle's book. which actually made me understand what exactly is present, what exactly is the now, the power of now. But that was an introduction. But uh, growing up in a Hindu Brahmin household, uh, prayers come naturally. There is always some festival or something going on, and you're offering gratitude towards God, towards the nature, and towards animals, and it is a system. But that did not really attract me too much. And I draw upon this from a religion versus a spirituality perspective, that for me, spirituality mattered a bit more when I started learning from meditation, and then moving on, where Eckhart Tolle, who's a German
Yeah.
person, who's actually really talking about all the people, the great sages and seers that have gone through in India, made me start reading more about Indian philosophy of Advaita Vedanta, which is about non-dualism and why we are one. I am that is what Advaita Vedanta says, which is you are the super consciousness, and like we are looking at any kind of philosophies today, when where people are looking at, oh, that's God and that's the form of God because that is the statue that everybody is looking and praying at. The Advaita philosophy is trying to say that everything is according to what I see it, and the smallest piece is actually here inside of me, and that is what. So that really attracted me quite a lot, because it was telling me that it is not Phil and Rajesh speaking. It is the same consciousness. You have the same particle that I have in me, and we both are exactly the same. But because we are playing these roles here, I am speaking and you are listening, and you are speaking and I am listening. So that's what spirituality in Advaita Vedanta speaks about, and that does a lot many things to all the positive mindsets that you speak about, Phil, in your book as well. When we are talking about authenticity, when we are talking about customer centricity, and when we are talking, I was talking about listening. It is all
Yeah.
about that you as a person, I'm not considering you as a separate then,
Right.
because we are part of this whole single consciousness and the bigger consciousness. And that's the reason I need to be compassionate. I need to be listening to you. I need to be worrying about what you are going through as well. And that is particularly the thing that came through from spirituality. And that is the reason I make it a bit more separate from religion, because it is nothing to with what kind of belief systems you have. But
Yeah.
spirituality for me is more about being that human with another human. And if I'm curious, if I'm kind, if I'm compassionate, and that is to every human being. So it is not just my family or my team, but even to my customer.
Yeah.
It will ensure that the customer reciprocates in the same way. The person in front of you reciprocates in the same way. So that's probably the place that I wanted to go forward with my research because of this, and how my team gets impacted by it.
Yeah. I mean, what I think so interesting is first of all, if you look at the context of sales and the world we live in today, it's so fast moving
Right.
uh, and so intense, and there's so much pressure around that. What you're talking about here, this idea of sense of presence, and I think we'll go into some of your research in more detail later on, but you sort of also you can connect it to anxiety and your sort of mental state as well. And there's a lot of people that I've been interviewing, for example, in very senior sales leadership roles, who who do suffer, from high levels of anxiety, and probably have not yet, sort of embraced this sense of spirituality in the sense you're now describing it. So I think the topic is really interesting, and I wonder whether you can share. when you were starting to get into the topic and you started to sort of read more about it, you've mentioned a few of the books already, Rajesh, but what were some of the big um, literature kind of books did you read that you think had the biggest impact on the direction that your action research then took you in?
So I think Phil, absolutely, Power of Now was one of the first ones that was given to me by a friend. I moved into that, but I think the biggest one that really influenced me a lot is the Bhagavad Gita. Now, the Bhagavad Gita is a uh, part of the two epic uh, mythologies in Hindu religion, is the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, where there is a battle that is about to begin between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, you can say the good people and the bad, and what kind of thoughts are going through with the prime warrior for the Pandavas. That is when Bhagavad Gita is told by Krishna to Arjuna. And what he mentions there is actually path to live a day-to-day life. So he has mentioned a few paths, 4 paths actually, but then here, Bhagavad Gita, there are a couple of things from the Bhagavad Gita that really stuck with me. One of
Okay.
them is uh, Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Now, this is in Sanskrit. If you translate it, it is more about you keep doing your duties and don't worry about the fruits of your hard work. Or, because they say that you continue to do your duties the way you are supposed to do, and the fruit of your hard work will come to you automatically. It is not supposed to be result oriented, and it is a contradiction in the role that I am. I cannot probably go into a boardroom and say this, but uh, but the way I connected this, Phil, from this particular one, I connected this with what we do in a sales team
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah.
Is if you are doing your sales activities in the cadence that you're supposed to do, you're doing your meetings, you're doing your calls, you're preparing for your call plan, you are making sure that you are speaking to the customer in the right uh, frame, you are ensuring that the customer's needs are kept
Yeah.
in focus. Uh, I keep on telling this to my team that 29th August is a quarter end for you and me.
Yeah.
29th August does not mean anything to the customer. The
Yeah. Yeah.
customer, if I can sign it on the 5th of September, why not? I'll sign it on the 5th of September.
Okay.
But that is where obviously outlook and forecasting will come into consideration. But what I'm more keen on is, are you doing your activities clearly and regularly? If you are doing that, you will end up with a solid pipeline that can actually take you forward. And that's the key that I got from, like, that is how in my mind I connected what Bhagavad Gita was trying to say with this particular line, and with and this is something that has stuck with me all the time. So even today, I feel as a leader, I am not too tensed in the last couple of weeks of the quarter, but I am more wanting to
Yeah.
get to my team to say, are you doing the right things in the first 7-8 weeks of the quarter for us to just get through the last couple of weeks? So Bhagavad Gita really played an important role. Then there is one more book that I have mentioned in my dissertation as well, called I Am That. This is, again, I'm speaking about mythical figures here. I'm speaking about sages and seers here, but that's something that really influenced me from a non-dualism perspective. Advaita Vedanta, we used to have Nisarga Dattat Maharaj. He's one of the enlightened being who used to live in Mumbai, and he passed away in 1981. So I can, it feels like that was when, I was still in school, but it feels real to me. Like Bhagavad Gita and Lord Krishna, probably a mythological figure, or
Yeah.
something that happened way back in the past. But Nisargadatta Maharaj and his teachings feel a lot closer to me. And that's where he says that the most important thing to remember, the purpose of life is to remember what needs to be remembered. And what needs to be remembered is that, what is the purpose? What are you as a human being? What are you here? Why are you here? What do you need to be doing? And it obviously does not connect in any ways with my sales role as such, but as a human being, when I think about these things and the privilege that we have, the society that we live in, the kind of privileged lifestyle that we have, what is my role towards the society? And if I look at my role towards the society is more about giving, because
Okay.
you have received so much that gratitude is not just gratitude by saying thank you or writing few lines before you go to sleep, but how can I give back to the society? And
Mm.
when I believe in this particular purpose and I start thinking about myself as a human being who needs to do this, my attitude towards my salespeople, my team, changes tremendously,
Mm.
because I feel, when I am so positive about what my purpose looks like, I need to understand what they feel.
Yeah.
How do they think about life? What is it that motivates them? And it is not wrong if at all it is money or it is power or it is fame or anything else. Everybody will go through that entire cycle before one realizes what actually really makes them happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably the thing that I felt very strongly about. And it is again a bit of curiosity as well, because when I want to be compassionate with somebody, and if I want to understand the person who is sitting next to me as his story, I can't be talking all the time. I need to be aware of what are they saying, what are the things or what are the signs that I can read even without them saying it. When do they let out a huge sigh and start speaking in a different tone? And that is something that probably I learned by listening to Oscar Trimboli and the Deep Listening podcast.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Brilliant podcast series, isn't it? I
yeah,
think you recommended this one to me on the very first module.
correct.
And I remember you saying, have you heard about Oscar Trimboli? And I hadn't at the time. And I was very glad you did, because I've listened to quite a few of his episodes.
Yes,
I mean, he takes listening to an absolutely amazing level. Um, Something you've referred to some terminology which I'm not sure our listeners would necessarily be familiar with.
correct.
You talked about non-dualistic. That Do you
Yes,
mind explaining what that term means to me
sure.
and to the listener?
So when I say non-dualistic, the philosophies, there are many philosophies in India when it comes to spirituality or when it comes to understanding this world. Now,
Okay.
the philosophy of dualism would mean that I, as a human being, is separate than the God in the temple. So,
Uh,
what would that mean is that I need to pray to the Lord, and I will be blessed by them because I did such and such things.
right.
That is separating the God and
Yeah.
myself. Or I would probably not use God or Lord as the term, because maybe there are people who would say maybe a supernatural being, maybe consciousness. Uh,
Right.
what there are philosophies where they would term it as separate.
Right.
But when it comes to non-dualism, non-dualism feels that there is one big consciousness. The whole thing is just consciousness. And a part of that consciousness. So, why am I speaking and why am I alive and breathing and doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing? Is because there is a part of that consciousness that is there, that same consciousness.
Yeah.
For a better terminology, I would say a God particle kind of. That particular particle is me as well. So it is
Okay.
there out in the nature. It is managing this and manifesting this entire beautiful world as we see it. But at the same time, it is there in me as well. And it's a very beautiful thing that I don't know if you've seen. I'm going to on a tangent. I do not know if you've seen the White Lotus recently, but in the White Lotus, it is based in Thailand, and the entire monk has beautifully said this when the one of the actors asks him, "What is death?" And
Yeah.
he said, "When you are born, you are actually part of a wave. You are a droplet that was supposed to be a wave. Because you are born, you become separated from the wave. So you are still part of the wave.
Okay.
When you are living, you are still in that.
Right.
And when you die, you just go back into and become part of the ocean, the wave again. And that is what is non-dualism. It is you are the same thing, what you came from, and you go back to the same thing. That is what. So
Amazing.
that's
What's so interesting is when you start to sort of make the connections between spirituality and actually your role as a sales leader. And you've alluded to coaching and listening, and you've also talked about leading and lagging indicators in the sense
correct.
of doing focus on the result, focus on the things that drive results. So there's a really interesting connection, I think, between the things that have inspired you from the books you've read and the literature research and the topic of sales leadership, which I have to thank you for, because this is something quite new, I think, in terms of how our students have started to look at literature. So you've had this interest, you've had this also self-reflection about you as a person that comes through very strongly. Tell us about the research you did. What did you do? How did you go about your research?
Sure. So my research was completely. So I put the project as for myself and what have I done differently. What how and I've always thought about it as a third person. Somebody
Yeah,
who's looking at me acting, doing things on a day-to-day basis, attending meetings or conducting meetings, they would probably observe a lot many things than what I would be able to. Even though
yeah,
I'm trying to be as aware as possible, I will have my own nuances, I'll have my own techniques and my habits. And that
yeah,
is the reason I went to my team and wanted to understand what exactly do they think. So when I looked at my result, my research, I was looking at a couple of things. I had a questionnaire which was divided into a couple of uh, major topics. One was communication in leadership,
yeah,
where I understood or wanted to understand how did they feel with, or what were the expectations while communicating? How was I listening? How was I making decisions? Was I fair in
yeah,
making decisions?
yeah,
Uh, am I involving my teams in my decisions? And the other area was around supporting growth, constructive feedback, and feedback again, a two-way street as to how I delivered feedback and how they were supported and um, uh, motivated to give feedback to me. Do I make ethical choices and do I lead with integrity? So that was the
yeah,
communication in leadership. And these were 8 statements that I gave them, and they were to rank them on a Likert scale
yeah,
from 1 to 5. And then second area was around mindfulness. And
yeah,
this was more around because this is from my perspective, I can always be very positive that yes, I was aware, or I can be very critic critical of my own behavior. So I was looking at being present and attentive, how I manage stress, because that was key in every day. Even though you've meditated and had a lovely session in the morning, a customer's challenging question or a deal which was supposed to be closed in 2 hours is still getting delayed, and those things can go haywire or go horizontal anytime. And what was the awareness on the morale? Am I recognizing all the contributions that people are making? Am
Yeah.
I encouraging some kind of purpose in them? Am I demonstrating compassion?
Right.
How am I managing or regulating my emotions in stressful situations?
Yeah.
And how am I handling conflict? So those were the two basic areas that I went through with my team. And they are 11 people. They gave their feedback, and this was just on the Likert scale. But then I had open-ended questions as to what have I done differently? Is there anything that they would like me to add to this?
Yeah.
How do they see? Can they give me a particular constructive feedback on a particular thing that they do not like? And I picked. So this was the second part. There were the Likert scale, there were the open-ended answers, and then the last piece was I conducted interviews as well. I wanted to. So there were people who really had interesting uh, responses, and I wanted to
Yes.
check what exactly is driving them, giving me that kind of a response, and what exactly can they share one particular instance or one particular example of the behavior that they have seen. So that is what my research entails here.
And was there any surprises, anything surfaced from that you would say this sort of offered you new thinking or new perspectives?
So then I was very surprised with the positivity that people came back home.
I
Uh,
must admit, they did. I mean, you come back here sort of in glowing terms, Rajesh, so you're obviously well respected. But I don't think you were happy with that, were you? You wanted to go deeper. Yeah.
Now, so because what I felt, so Phil, we have to understand the cultural
Yes.
situations.
Yeah.
We are in Southeast Asia. We are in Asia overall. I would say uh, people are a lot more respectful, a lot more. Uh, they would rather give you an ambiguous answer rather than say, "Yeah, you better pull up your socks on this one."
Right. Well, we've had a few technical challenges here, Rajesh, but hopefully we'll be okay now. Um,
Hopefully.
so, yeah, you were talking about the survey data that you got, and
Sure.
you got, and we talk about the cultural
Sure.
effects of people giving you positive feedback, and you wanted to go deeper. So perhaps you could
Yes.
expand a bit on what you
Yeah.
did underneath the skin of some of the research that you were doing.
Exactly, Phil. So as I was saying that in Asia you would hardly have people come up to you and straight away say that, hey, this is the place that you need to pull up your socks. But when when I saw that kind of data, the really flowery data, I felt, oh, I need to really go deeper into a couple of areas. And I think this is not just with the dissertation, but this has become my style since I've been with Southeast Asia and trying to understand how things work here.
Yeah.
I Rather than asking people what are the things that you want me to improve upon, or what are the things that you suggest I do, I ask people, what should I start doing? What is the one thing that you want me to stop doing? And what
Yeah.
is that one thing that you want me to continue? So what that gives them an opportunity to point to just one thing, and because it is just one thing, they
Yeah.
kind of open up a bit more as well. So
Okay.
that is something that I have used as a trick in all my check-ins when I do my check-ins with my team. But at the same time, during the dissertation as well, when I got into the interviews and wanted to go deep dive, there were two uh, respondents who actually shared with me what I needed to do, what was going on, what is that one particular instance where I should have actually kept quiet in a customer meeting and allowed them to lead. So there were these things that came up, which was very good, and I liked it. There was one specific respondent, and I've shared a bit about that particular respondent on the paper as well, is where they actually were unhappy about what was happening within the team, and a couple of decisions that were probably beyond their level, but they felt that those decisions came as a surprise to them, and that is the reason they responded very differently than what they would have generally responded to
Yeah.
those questions. So because it was a negative marking in terms of, and their responses stood out, I felt I really should understand what's going on there.
Going on. Yeah. Okay.
And
So you've got some deeper insights. So how do you feel it's made, the whole journey, and how has it made you, now, how does that help you develop your practice as a sales leader, would you say? What's changed?
so I think the it is not just the dissertation, Phil, that I would
Yeah.
say has changed things, but
Yeah.
this whole journey, the master's journey, right from day one, where we got into what is shaping me or what is getting me here, what has got me here. Since that particular question, the shields that we drew
Yeah.
has invited me to look at my behaviors and my actions and the things that I read and the things that influence me very critically.
Yeah.
I also loved the idea of reflective writing, which we learned again in the first module, where just to understand, to think reflectively, to think critically and write reflectively was I think one of the changing points for me, because it really helped me become a bit more conscious, remember of a lot many things throughout the day, and right at the end of the day, write them down, say what happened, why did that happen, and uh, then the Gibbs reflective circle as to what will you do to probably ensure the next time these things don't happen. So that's something that has created a circle for me. Uh, the the business, understanding the or decoding the business, as in understanding the code of
Yeah.
business, actually helped me understand getting into leading indicators, lagging indicators. And I'm very happy to share with you that I started during this time. I
Yeah.
started project. My project was based on how can my partners really start creating pipeline and
Yeah.
help me grow that. And I'm
Yeah.
very happy to share with you, Phil, that that was module 2. Since then, even today, I have a program which runs. I based it on the book 4DX, the
Yeah.
four
Yeah.
disciplines of execution, and I went through that, and that is still driving me upwards of $2 million worth of pipeline coming from partners which I had no visibility on. Maybe the partners never took it that seriously as well. But today, with this particular framework that I have drawn, it's now about 8 quarters that I'm running it successfully.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm super happy and super thrilled that that's still going on. It has taken a bit more twists
Yeah.
and turns in the way I uh, nominate the winners, the way I uh, felicitate the winners, or the way I award the winners, reward the winners has changed a bit. But
Right.
overall, the program still remains the same. the biggest thing that actually came up as a surprise, I missed sharing with you in the questionnaire. One of the things that really caught my attention was somebody writing there, we would love you to answer us directly sometimes rather than asking us a coaching question. And I remember still going back to the coaching module where I wanted to become this person where asking questions, asking coaching questions, asking open questions, asking options from the person who is bringing me the problem should be my go-to persona.
Yeah, yeah,
And advising, which is my strong point because of my tenure in Adobe and my experience and stuff like that. I wanted to put it on the back seat, and yeah, to some extent I feel I have achieved that, which is really very pleasing. So taking this whole journey forward, I feel there are two things that I continue to do very diligently. One is coaching as to how I
yeah,
treat the team, how I have started taking pauses to say, you've got me this information, what do you want me to do with it? You want me to listen to it only, or you want me to respond to it, or have you thought of any other options that you would? So that is a good question to start that conversation, rather
yeah,
than they bringing me something and I straight away jumping in, oh, you know what you should do, and then getting there, which probably was making me a bottleneck in that entire conversation, because
yeah.
then I was the one that they were waiting for, rather than now me asking them and making them a lot more independent on how they act on
Yeah.
the situations and the problems that they have. So yeah, those are a few things, Phil. I really take back and continue to work strongly towards
Yeah.
with my team.
I'm very glad you've opened this up to the other modules because you're right. The final dissertation is just one of 7 projects you've done over the course of the 2.25
Correct.
years. And the fact you've gone back to module 2, the cracking the code, the coaching. I know coaching is there's a big thing for you, isn't it? Sort of moving forward. I think you want to continue with that. So yeah, been fantastic sort of learnings, and as I say, the language of your research literature, the connection with spirituality, the terminology of dualism and non-dualism, these are, at least for me, completely new concepts, Rajesh. So I've learned a huge amount just from listening to you and reading your dissertation. And you're right. India's got such a rich history, doesn't it, of philosophy and so on. And yeah, I think we have an awful lot to learn from it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Phil, there are a couple of things, couple of books I actually mentioned because you mentioned India right now. There are
Yeah,
a couple of books that I did go through. Was the 4,000 Weeks, which really speaks about how 4,000 weeks is actually 80 years. So the author has taken 80 years as a standard time for a person's like a lifespan.
the
And
lifestyle. Yeah,
he is specifically talking about, you want to become better at certain things, you want to become better at certain things, you lose sleep and you become, like an example is, you want to become better at answering emails very quickly. You become so much better that you can answer emails very, very quickly. You know what happens? You don't get a zero inbox, you actually get more emails. And he's speaking about this, about the national highways in England as well, and he's
yeah,
talking about all sorts of things. But what he's trying to say basically is that we have to all remember that there is an end point to all these things.
yeah,
This race that we are in, or this thing that we are behind,
yeah,
there's it might not be 4,000 weeks, it might be 6,000 weeks, it might be not 80 years, it might be 100 years, but there is supposedly, and that's the truth. And but not in a gloom doom kind of a way that, oh yes, everybody dies, but in a way that am I really doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I really thinking about things positively? Does it matter that somebody said something, and you have all that thing going on in your mind, or you are angry about something, or you are not very happy about something? Does that really matter? 2 days later, 5 days later, maybe people don't even remember what they were upset about.
Yeah.
And that is again coming back to slowing down. That is again coming back to
Yeah.
becoming more conscious and more human in our engagements, in our relationships, and trying to find that that thing that connects us. And that is where the base is from a spiritual perspective, as to where is this all going. And the Buddhist, actually the Tibetan monks, and if somebody goes and learns meditation in Tibet, they are actually asked to meditate on death, Maranasati, they say. But they meditate on death as a real thing. You are supposed to sit quietly and think what would happen.
Yeah.
You got to imagine that you are dead, and what would happen after that. The reason only is it's not about the doom and gloom as well, because we got to accept the fact that yes, you are born, you will die. So it's a span, it's a particular span of time. But what you do, and that reminds us to be that much more compassionate, that much more loving, that much more uh, kind.
Yeah.
Just being kind to people around you, and that then automatically blossoms. The things automatically blossom with your team, be it with your customer, be it with your partners. uh, if you are kind to people around you, and that is what Meng from Google, his book I have spoken about, is
Mm.
talking about having the intent. Like, if I'm getting on a call with Phil and I have an intent that I am intentional that I
Yeah.
need to be very kind to Phil. And the moment that intent happens, automatic reciprocation of that intent happens from Phil, that Phil is also being kind to you. And it's a very human thing.
It
It's
is.
it's something it's something which is automatic. You don't even need to think about it.
Well, that's wonderful. That's a really positive note, I think, to end this wonderful conversation we've had, Rajesh. I've really enjoyed it. And thank you so much for taking part. I don't know. Hopefully, you've enjoyed it as well, Rajesh, to not
I
the
really
dust.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and you motivate others to follow a similar line of inquiry. We shall see. Yeah. We
Absolutely.
we have quite a few from India joining the program at the moment from one of our in-house cohorts at the moment. So it may be that others will follow suit. We'll see. Um, but no, thank you, and we'll be in touch soon, Rajesh. And thank you so much for taking part.
Thank you so much, Phil. Thanks a lot for this opportunity, and really cannot thank you and the Consalia team enough for all the support and the guidance that we have gotten over the last couple of years. It's been a wonderful journey, and I really encourage everybody who gets a chance to get onto this master's program, and I can assure them that they would learn many more things than they are actually doing in their day-to-day work today.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thanks
Okay.
a lot, Phil.